Hello, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat.
Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the mums, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Arvinia, this is Black Country Blokes chewing the fat. With me, Kev Dillon, Lee Cadman, Craig Pinches. And today we're very lucky to have on our guest, Andy Plant. Now today's subject is one that often isn't talked about enough. It's about child abuse. And we want today, yes, it is a fucking horrible story. However, we want to talk about some of the strategies that's helped you to get through life. And hopefully by talking about these things, it'll bring other people out to talk about it. To you, Andy.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, thanks for inviting me onto the show. It's good to be here. Been looking at some of the stuff you've done. It's quite inspiring what you're trying to do. So yeah, I'm pleased to get involved, and I hope my story can help somebody else.
Well, that's what I think the beauty of talking is. We talked on the phone. I mean, we haven't seen each other in almost 20 years. And we were saying the problem is that we feel like we're these snowflakes. And whatever I'm going through, no other bugger has. And that isn't the case. No matter what you're going through, there's so many other people going through these things. And I think by allowing yourself to talk about them, that opens a conversation. And no matter what it is, someone else has been through it. So thank you again for coming on.
No worries.
So would you like to tell us about everything? Tell us about your journey, please.
So yeah, my journey started with a youth club. I was in top year of primary school, so I would have been 9 or 10, and I was groomed by one of the youth workers down there. And then subsequently, for the next couple of years, I was abused amongst with a group of other people from the area, Kinsminford. And it went on till sort of the beginning of secondary school. And then he did get caught. It came out, and there was people that spoke up. And yet at the time, I didn't have the courage to sort of speak up and do it. And then that led to a whole lifetime of self-loathing, self-abuse, self-blaming, embarrassment, shame. And shame is the biggest thing. That shame keeps the silence, And that's the biggest thing to deal with. So yeah, so then after that, I spent pretty much half my childhood, dabbling in drugs and always looking for something that you never knew what you were looking for. And it kind of like makes me think of one of the Alice in Chains songs, Heaven Beside You, Heaven Beside You, Hell Inside. And I suppose you could take that as you're always looking for that thing. You're always trying to run around, trying to find something. I'll be better if I get this, I'll be better if I do that. Be better if I have this or use this. But wherever you go, whatever you do, it's always inside you, and it's not till you sort of confront it and deal with it that you can move on. So yeah, spent up most of my childhood dabbling in drugs, and it went into my adult life, and I never really admitted the level of my depression. It is, as we were speaking about earlier, masculinity. You sort of got to man up, you got to get on with it. And as you probably know yourself, depression, it comes in waves and bouts. You're up, you're down. 1 minute you're riding the crest of a wave, the next minute you're drowning in the swell.
Yeah. It's not sometimes with depression, it's not just a black place, is it?
No.
Sometimes and I think people like ourselves, you can fool the world because they see you being this chatty bloke and
absolutely.
rattling, but they don't know the devil that's inside of you. And as you're saying, the shame doesn't want everyone to see that part of you, so we hide it by being Jack the lad and the soul of the party, but they don't see when you're sat at home on the couch.
No.
I think Andy is definitely that. Andy's my brother-in-law, and you definitely, every time we go out, you speak to just about anyone who's standing next to you. You're definitely, you're always friendly, happy. And there was the odd occasion didn't turn up to family dues, which now is probably down to depression. But I think at the time I just thought, well, you work 7 days a week, you're knackered, you ain't going to turn up to all these things. But
And this is where it all laid. I was kind of like a high functioning dysfunction, if you will. You sort of burn the wick at both ends, so then it tires you out. But over the years, I've got on. You might think I've had a bad life. I haven't. I've had a good life. I've made the most of what I've had. There's been amazing happy times, but then again, the low times, they get lower and lower and longer. And the older I've got, the longer it's taken me to get over things, and the heavier the burden really became to carry. And someone said to me the other day, I think it was you, Kev, wasn't it? Where did you find the strength to finally, deal with it and confront it and speak out? And I said, it wasn't the fact that I found the strength. I didn't have the strength anymore to go on. I'd isolated myself, as you just said, Lee. I'd isolated myself from friends, from family. I was making up excuses to stop at work just so I could get more wrecked. I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to socialise. I was missing out on my family, my kids. And then towards the end, I spent weeks contemplating suicide. That was a scary place to be. That's a really lonely place to be. That is, you don't want to die, but you don't want to go out anymore. You've truly hit rock bottom when you get to that point. And as I said, I've got stuff around me. I've got a great family. I've got an absolutely amazing wife, amazing kids, cars. Got a good job that paid good money. Got a house. What more do you need? When you're down, you're down. You don't see none of that. You're on your own.
But you just say it's like, what more do I need? But we go on what we think what other people need.
Yeah.
Why am I moaning? I've got someone who loves me, I've got children. But it gets back to that devil inside, doesn't it? That once you deal with that, then you can move forward. But if you've always got that thing, well, how many pound notes make me happy? How many grams make me happy? And until you can get that sorted, or you can lay that to bed, or you can move on from it, nothing's ever enough, is it?
No.
I think you can be, like you say, you can be happy, you can be around people. I can't remember if this is my original quote or whether it's somebody else's. It's something like, those surrounded by the most people can often feel the most alone.
Yeah.
It's probably someone else's quote.
Don't let the truth get away with a good story.
yeah, we'll edit that. But it's always, you've got all these great, variations of things around you, your family and your job and whatever, but there's always that call. It's like a phone ringing that you have to answer within you, and as soon as you answer it, boom, that's when the demon starts talking to you and the devil starts talking to you. That's how, obviously not as, I don't come from the same kind of storyline as you with my problems, but that's where it is with me. It's like, I could feel when that phone's about to ring. When it rings, I answer it. And it's the worst thing you can do, because that's when the voices start talking to you and it just drags you down and down and down until you hang that phone up. But it's finding the courage to hang that phone up and then join society again and join your family. And it's not ungratitude. I think that's important to note, because I have a lot of people say to me, like, what you got to be down about? You got a beautiful family, you got this, you got 2 beautiful kids. And I said, yeah, and I'm ever so grateful. I know what I have and I love them to bits, but that makes it a lot worse for me, because then I'm riddled with guilt for feeling shitty, about it, and it's just a spiralling effect, isn't it?
Yeah, it becomes a vicious circle. It becomes self-perpetuating, doesn't it?
It does.
It drags you down.
So what was you said it was not having the strength to carry on, but what was it, those suicidal thoughts and not wanting to leave? I don't know, can you explain it to me? What was the tipping point to go and think, now is the time as a late 30s man?
Well, the reason being, it was, childhood sexual abuse has been so much publicised lately. It was everywhere. It was on social media, it was in the newspaper, it was on the telly, it was in the radio. There was no escaping it, no peace anymore. No little quiet space to go and shut off. It was always there, and that was one of the things that was dragging me down. And then, when I finally gave up, I just couldn't do it anymore. And the wife, she was like, "Come on, you're going to be late for work. What's going on? Come on, get going." And I just said, "Look, I need some help." it was sink or swim. So I couldn't say the words, you know. It took me months to actually say the words myself. But she was about in that era. She knew, you know, the sort of things that had gone on, and she got it out of me. And then from then, you know, obviously we went to the doctors. The doctors have been fantastic.
But the GP?
Yeah,
doctors.
GP. And Charles, my wife, she works with vulnerable children, so obviously she knows the sort of, you know, the places to go and the people to speak to. And she came across a company or an organisation, a charity called Black Country Women's Aid. So, you know, I got in touch with them, and they've been absolutely priceless. That, you know, that they're so instrumental in my recovery. It's just unbelievable, you know.
And what kind of things have they encouraged you to? Has it been like group sessions?
Yeah, it's been a whole collective of things that I've done. Initially, I was given a caseworker, so, you know, I was having regular meetings with a caseworker for weeks and weeks. Then I went into counselling. I had a few months of counselling while still, you know, having my meetings with my caseworker. And in the meantime, you know, you've got to put the work in and do your own work as well. I was reading, I was studying. You know, I was just trying to learn from anything that I could. But since then, you know, I've realised that it's not just about your mind, it's about your body as well. So I've joined martial arts. You know, I've been getting into martial arts. I've been trying to grow as a character. And I've just not been isolating myself, you know. Speaking is key. Connection is the word, I suppose. Connection is the key to growth, you know. So yeah, from there, then, you know, I started talking with some of the counsellors from Black Country Women's Aid, and we were talking about getting a peer support group going, because the shocking thing is there's that many people in the Black Country area that have been through what I've been through, and there's not enough help out there. So what we're trying to do now, you know, we've got one group session going, which I'm part of currently. They're trying to get more groups going, and they're looking for facilitators, so they can train up and, you know, get more peer groups going and get the support out there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
And I think it is wonderful when people can help people. We've talked about it, haven't we? And I've said on previous shows, how can it be cheaper to make a tablet to give it to people than to have people sitting in a room? How can a conversation be more expensive than making a tablet? And I think by having like trained people like Nick Davis, who's been on here, and he's wonderful people from women's, what's it called?
Black Country
Women's Aid. Surely that's the best form of medication, knowing that someone gives a toss about you,
yeah,
and having like-minded souls to talk about it. You were saying about books. What books have you read?
Oh God, I'm reading about psychology, philosophy, motivational books like Ant Middleton, Russell Brand. You know, anything that's you know, got an inspirational sort of theme to it. Autobiographies, you know, everything and anything.
Soul food.
I think a lot of it as well, because of myself, I've been nearly a year sober actually next month.
Well done.
And I don't think I was addicted. I think it's an odd one, because if you looked at how much I was drinking, you'd probably say I would, but I didn't have any, when I stopped, I didn't have any come down off it. But actually you find, like I've read a lot more now, because I think you find, you what do you do with your time? What do you do now, you know what I mean? And I think you fill the time, that's right. So I find myself reading a lot more than I used to, and doing things like that. And I suppose it's the same on your thing, you know.
Reading is it's a lost art.
It's a good escape.
It's a good escape, and it's one that people don't tap into now, because everything's on Google. You can you ain't got to type it now. You can speak it. You know, Google this and the other, and information is so accessible now that we struggle to filter out what's real, what's good, what's honest. You know what I mean? What's not. If it's in a book, it's usually, you know, it's published. It's usually an honoured word as such, into. Whereas the internet sort of killed that reading. So therapeutic reading people don't do. So that's a form of therapy that people don't tap into because of these little devices that we've.
Well, knowledge is power, isn't it? And it's like your counselling. You know, the counsellors can only show you the door. You've got to walk through it yourself. So yeah, pick a book up, you read it, digest it, learn, grow. You move forward in life. I think this is the key to sort of getting yourself better.
And have you started to feel better now? Now you've
Yeah,
walked through the
absolutely.
door.
Absolutely. I'm in a really good place lately. So much so, I want to make it my goal to help other people. That is where I'm trying to go in my life. If my experience can help even one person, then it's surely to God it's all worth it.
Yeah. And that's what I believe. If you can help one soul, then, we've done a bloody good job with what we were doing.
I mean, sorry, Kev, back to like when it happened and that, and you sort of became this recluse and you just became a wild child to get away from that. What was it that stopped you speaking up? Was it the fear of ridicule, or was it the shame, or was
Yeah,
I suppose
it was-
you know now in clarity
Yeah.
what it possibly is. But it's
It
confusing.
was a host of things. It was the shame. It was the fear of being judged. Absolutely. One of the biggest things was, my parents was sort of splitting up themselves, and although they were still together at the time, there wasn't the big arm around the shoulder, the consoling,
Yeah.
the compassion. If there had been a bit more compassion about it, maybe I would have spoke up at the time. But that's neither here nor there. That's it's not passing the buck. It's not blaming anybody. I just didn't speak up because I didn't. And then obviously, the longer you hold a secret, the harder it gets to tell that secret.
Yeah, of course.
You held on to that for a long time as well.
Yeah,
That's,
28 years.
that's
28 years. It's a long time. It's a long
to hold that on your own, isn't
There
it?
was times, when I was 18, 19, I was like falling to pieces quite a lot back then. I was falling into the depths of heroin and things like that. And I made a really lame attempt at cutting my wrists, and it was more so I wanted some help. And because of the trauma that I was going through at the time, with my mum and dad still splitting up and all this sort of stuff, even when I was at school, my behaviour was deemed, because my parents were separating, that's why I was off the rails. And when I was falling into this trap of getting into the heroin, and I made this lame attempt at cry for help, again it was put down to this, that and the other, the drugs. It was put down to my lifestyle, and even then I still didn't have the courage to speak up. So over these years, my wife, she's been golden, but there's only so much they can tolerate. And with having kids, she's growing up quicker than I'm growing up, and you can imagine it caused quite a bit of contention in the household, where why are you doing this to us? Why are you doing that to the kids? And at the time, I was so blinded by my own need for doing what I needed to do that I didn't see where she was coming from. My argument was, well, I'm not doing it to the kids because I'm not doing it around the kids. But ultimately, I wasn't present for a lot of the time, So yeah, you start losing yourself.
And not
too
being
much.
present brings a bit of guilt into you. I know myself from
Yeah.
work, from just work.
Yeah.
You get wrapped up in that, and before you know it, like really Alfie's first year, I was running pubs at the time, and his first year I missed. I pretty much missed his first year just through work.
And that's where the insomnia starts for me, is because all through the day I can be busy or not present or in my own little world or just on a different planet. Then on a night when it comes time to settle, my body's tired, my mind's racing, and then the guilt kicks in. And then I think of all the times throughout the day that my son's been, Dad, can we play in a minute? Dad, can we do this
Always
in a
a
bit
minute.
later? And and then you think you don't think of it and you carry on your day. And then on a night he's sound asleep, everyone's asleep. You're alone with your own thoughts. That's when the tears start for me, because I'm sort of thinking, fucking hell, the kid wanted to have a kickabout for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
He's my son, he's my best friend, and I couldn't even put my own troubles aside or whatever I was doing at the time to do that, and then the guilt kicks in, and that infuses another vicious circle.
Well, this is where I was at. Night time was the worst time, because you try and shut off.
Yeah.
You get the washing machine head going, all these thoughts. So that's why I used to get stoned and pissed. So then you could shut off at night, because quite often when in my younger days, when the wife did tolerate it a bit more, she'd be like, why do you need that? You've just had one. Well, if you weren't absolutely mongold, then you weren't going to sleep.
Yeah.
So over the years, when it did start causing problems, I've been into therapy before, I've been into counselling, I've done this, that, and the other, and it never really worked, because I was doing it to appease her, not myself. And the reason being, because I'd never divulged the true fact. It was like putting a plaster on something and then ripping it off before it's healed, and it can't start healing until you've sort of got in there, you've got all the poison out, you've treated it. So
That's so true. I think you can't deal with it unless you've got the underlying problem, and I think unless you get the underlying problem, you will keep falling back on it. Because why'd you get stoned? I don't know. It helps me to sleep, but unless you've got that thing right to start off with, everything else will crumble under it. Can I just touch on something you said about sometimes the Eddies, the people who groom, they target the vulnerable? Because I think as a society we think like the paedophile or the groomer is that dodgy bloke in an anorak pulling outside with a van getting kids in. When we talk on the phone, it's normally someone in a position of trust, the family friend, and I think that's why a lot of people don't talk about it, because you know that person from the youth club or from that organisation, that priest, he's built up with trust.
Yeah.
And they normally pick out the vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Could you tell
Well,
me?
not 9 times out of 10, it is somebody that you know the victim knows, and it's not necessarily just the victim that they groom. In some cases, they even go as far as grooming the parents. So you know they're very calculating, they're very sly, and as I say, they're normal's not the right word, but they are people in society in normal jobs, normal roles, i.e. teachers, police, you know, the medical profession. You know, it's
People of trust.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where the
And
real heinous thing is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a manipulative nature, isn't it? I mean, like, prior to all that happening, how would you have described yourself? Would you describe yourself as a quiet lad who was into his studying, or was you a bit of a jack lad, or you know, just trying to get the stereotype of
I was your typical 9 or 10-year-old little lad, you know. I wasn't naughty, but yeah, I was a bit of a jack lad. But again, I was quite a quiet lad. But yeah,
not necessarily confident.
no, I wasn't. You know, you put me in a room full of people, and I was the quieter one. Absolutely. So yeah, I probably was quite vulnerable at the time. But the trouble is, you know, when you're that age,
Children are.
you are naive, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
You are naive.
I mean, I think it's good that you've decided to come out and say it after spending 28 years with that to yourself. I mean, that is a long time to keep a secret, especially when you've got to try and justify as to why you're acting a certain way and as to why you're in a certain mood at a certain point without giving the reason. You know, that does take a lot of courage, a lot of resilience from yourself. So
Well, I just hope from my story that, you know, there's people out there that can see that, you know, that they're not alone. You know, there is help out there. You don't need to suffer in silence, and there is a road to recovery. It's not all doom and gloom, and life's beautiful.
Yeah.
Life is beautiful.
I often say that to people. I say, anyone who says life isn't tough hasn't lived enough. But anyone who also says life isn't beautiful and rewarding also hasn't lived enough. Because every day is a miracle. And we're still here, and the sun's still rising, still sets, and we've got to focus on the beauty in the world.
Yeah.
Survive the bad and enjoy the good.
The road of life's a bumpy road. But, you know, would you want a smooth road?
No.
You know, it's all part of the enjoyment, isn't it? That, you know, this bumpy road of life, you know, it's a journey.
and what's proof of that is a motorway versus country roads. I'll drive country roads for 3 hours before I'll drive one straight motorway road. So yeah, you have
analogy.
You know, so you have got to embrace the twists and turns. You know what I mean? And I mean, people are going to try and make it hard at some point or another to certain degrees, and you've got to learn to build up a resilience against that and just be aware for yourself. You know, but I think, like you say, life's beautiful. I say, like the way nature is. You know, we went to an exotic zoo not long ago, and it was on about, I don't know if it's a little monkey or something, and they got like a really long tongue, and they drink like the nectar from the flowers. Well, upon doing that, then filling the face with pollen, and as they run around, them scattering the pollen and helping things to grow again. And I think that shows you how beautiful and how in sync nature is. It's the humans that are not in sync with each other, and that's where the problems come from. You know, mankind's a beautiful idea, it's the humans that spoil it, and I truly believe that, because you never know where you stand, and you're always thinking, well, he's a good person and I'll stand deal with him, or do I? You know, nature's in sync with each other, and life is the humans. You know, I think that's important to digest.
Something I do want to mention before we carry on the cliff notes, I think that's the right term. I'm not very good with all this stuff.
Make your own.
But we're going to, yeah, that's right. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Like
That's
your
what I'm saying.
intros.
But what I want to do is in the cliff notes, I want Andy's going to write on all the organisations he's either been to or he can think and try them. If one doesn't help, try something else. Because, as we were saying about knowledge, we must try things to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
That's it. I think we mentioned in previous, you've got to find your own medicine, haven't you, and find your own path.
What works
that's
for one
what-
doesn't necessarily work for another.
And that's everything.
Yeah.
Can I also ask you about fear, Andy? Because after going through something like that, as I say, my brother-in-law, I know you don't really, or you don't come across as you have any fear. You'll try pretty much anything. You know, you've had. I don't want to say fads because that's wrong, but you've tried a lot of things, haven't you, in terms of guitars. So Andy can play pretty much any instrument going on. I know.
I could play my face.
Fear.
Do you think that's linked to it? That
Fear.
obviously you've had that experience, and does that, or do you think that wouldn't make any difference at all?
I've no idea, to be fair. I've never really thought about it like that. My greatest fear is not doing things, putting myself out there. It's not even hurting myself. My biggest fear is judgment of people and fitting in and acceptance and rejection. Those are my biggest fears in life, and I'm pretty sure that most people in life would tell you that that's exactly their fears as well.
Yeah.
Not feeling the odd one out.
Yeah.
You know, and that, even though people won't admit it, they do specific things actions that they take in life, you know, are designed to fit in. You know, having smartphones, okay, we need it for connectivity because a lot of people we know use smartphones, but a lot of it is that FOMO thing, into that fear of missing out. You know what I mean?
I think it's more having the latest smartphone, isn't it?
Yeah.
More than having a smart, you know, everyone's looking to get the fit in by getting the next best.
Everyone's
thing
scared of something, and like you touched on, rejection is a big part of that. You know, me doing art and music and stuff, I know that for a start. Even though I don't say, oh, what people think of me, I do. Because if I didn't, I'd have a lot more fucking material out than I've got out now. But the fact that I'll make 20 songs and not put one of them out shows you how much rejection I'm scared of, even if I won't admit it out loud.
I think something we touched on the other day, and it as soon as Andy said what he said, like fear, not trying to get hurt, you strike me as someone who we put a confident mask on, but really what you've got is a lot of courage, and what you'll do is you'll push through anything because you don't want an opportunity to let you go. And you strike me as a man full of courage, like to pick up a guitar or to do this, or exactly what you're doing now. You've got a pair of bollocks and you're willing to use them, kind of thing. And I think that's because anyone who says they're not frightened is trying to say you something, or in proper Black Country words, they're full of bollocks. Because we all have fear.
Yeah.
But some people sit down with fear and some people stand up with it. Some people won't do it, some people will push through it. And you strike me as that kind of man.
It's like at the Rocky film when he said, fear is your friend. Frankie, fear is your friend, it keeps you on your toes. It's just how you harness it. You can either let fear pin you into a corner and shit yourself and be scared to do anything, or you can say, I'm scared of doing that, so I'm going to do it in order to move forward. And you seem the kind of guy, from meeting you tonight for half an hour, you seem the kind of guy that's, I'm scared of that, so I'm going to do it. I'm different with certain things like spiders and big rides and that.
Ugly women.
I've never had many of them.
Oh, bad stacks.
They were ugly on the night though, was they? With the beers.
What I'd like to say, I mean, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'd like to get you back on at another stage. But what have we got a quote to finish us on today?
Yeah, firstly, I'd just like to say, you know, if there's anybody out there that's dealing with these type of problems, you know, as I said, reach out. There is help. Tell somebody. I can promise you that it's not going to be an easy road. It's not going to be a smooth road, and I can promise you it probably will be very painful. But I can also promise that it's definitely worth it. You are worth it. Life is worth it. And as Mahatma Gandhi once said, to find the best in yourself and to find yourself, you have to lose yourself in helping other people. Thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. And until next week, gang, ta-ra a bit.
Listen, listen, listen.